In the last few years, unaccountable puzzling events have been taking place on the outskirts of Milan in Italy. Unidentified aircraft hover just in front of the windows of an anonymous house. The phenomenon keeps reoccurring with a high frequency. A young man films them with his camera, producing UFO footage absolutely unique in history. The image quality, the length of the footage, and the different types of objects astonish the experts. What is happening? Who are the mysterious visitors? An extraordinary event that stimulates the interest of experts all over the world. A new enigma to solve. The URZI case, a mystery in the skies of Italy. It is certainly not very common for people to have the extraordinary experience of spotting and filming a UFO. Even less frequent are those who can do it repeatedly. Antonio URZI is one of them. The number of objects he has sighted is very large, having collected almost 100 films. Also, it is not just the amount of evidence that makes this case unique in its genre. There is also the unusual closeness of the aircraft, the impressive high quality of the images, and the appearance of multi-shaped UFOs.
Ho filmato molte tipologie di oggetti.
I've been shooting many types of objects, from flying saucers with metal surfaces to spheres, tubular objects, as well as many other types already sighted all over the world.
Antonio got his first camera in August 2003. It was an old analog Video 8 camcorder, good enough to catch the mysterious visitors on tape. Actually, Antonio has been sighting UFOs since he was a child, but only that year he decided to capture them. The first objects he filmed were well-known spheres of light, sighted all over the world and also in space. But soon afterwards, more interesting objects started to appear, like this extraordinary shiny cigar-shaped UFO captured in daylight. Film that resembles other sightings in Italy and abroad. Another well-known type of unidentified objects are the triangular crafts. They became famous throughout the world after the large number of sightings that occurred in Belgium in 1989. As soon as Antonio got his camera, they started appearing almost immediately. In fact, the first footage dates back to October 2003, and it's completely identical to the craft shot in Belgium. Afterwards, Antonio caught them again, filming other videos of very high interest. Where do these objects come from? At that time, the Belgian army declared that they did not exclude the extraterrestrial hypothesis. This statement caused a worldwide sensation. The triangular UFO was chased by fighter planes, but they could do nothing, as the unidentified aircraft passed from 280 to 1,700 kilometers an hour in just 1 second. Such an increase in speed would kill any pilot, because human beings can only tolerate acceleration 5 times less than that. The extraordinary nature of URZI's experience was evident from the first series of videos, but this was just the beginning. In the following months, the quality of his films improved remarkably.
Since 2004, namely from June, I have been sighting the same metallic objects that I used to see when I was a child.
The fact occurred on the 4th of June 2004. The UFO was very close, definitely metallic. They seldomly come so close to a camcorder. The filmed sequence shows a light sphere circling around the flying saucer. According to the experts, it might be a remotely operated test probe, a rather common element in UFO sightings. According to analysts, the hull should be at least 7 to 9 meters across. Unfortunately, the lack of reference points makes it difficult to calculate the exact dimensions.
Dall'estate del 2003, dal momento in cui acquisto questa videocamera e inizio a filmare,
In summer 2003, when I bought the camera and started filming, I did not mean to show my films, as they were meant for my personal record. When these objects appeared so close to me with their metallic surfaces, my only intention was to catch their details. I didn't care at all about filming the surroundings.
It has also to be considered that the position where Antonio films is not very comfortable. Most of the filming is from the small windows on the roof of the small loft where he lives with his fiancée, Simona. The sloped windows are pivoted in the middle, and Antonio has worked out a solution to fix the shutters. Moreover, from his small window, he has got a limited view over the sky. So it seems incredible that UFOs may literally pose, making a sort of performance, allowing him to film. However, when an object appears to Antonio all of a sudden, as if it were there for him, he gets so concerned about filming that he just holds the shutters with his own hand. The position makes filming even more difficult. Sometimes, Antonio has got enough time to go to Simona's grandmother's flat, where he can film more comfortably from a small balcony. Meanwhile, the visitors come back for him. It was about 7:30 a.m. when a bronze-like metallic object appeared. There was an unusual silence while Antonio was filming the strange movements of the disc. It's remarkable when the hull tilts so that the bottom clearly mirrors the sun. This phenomenon happened again during the same month. In the new extraordinary video, the object seems to be a cross among the sightings of the American George Adamski, the Swiss Willy Meyer, and the Hispano-American Paul Wheeler. Unlike previously, in this footage there are clouds in the sky, so that one can better appreciate the motion of the craft. The video has also a further reference point, the window frame. At the end, the disc went out of sight, and when URZI zoomed out, you can see the small portion of sky where the object revealed itself. Analyzing the frames of this exceptional footage, on the side of the shiny craft, you can notice some dark round areas similar to portholes. Filmed UFO evidence has hardly ever been that sharp. 20 days later, the big metallic discs made themselves evident.
Bellissimo, cavolo.
The maneuvers of the object were like the previous videos, but after a few seconds, it disappeared. URZI zoomed out, and the window was visible again.
Dov'è? È andato via.
This time, Antonio had a surprise.
Eccolo. Ma è diverso questo. Oh.
As soon as the disc reappeared, it was totally different from before. The footage remained out of focus for a long time, but because of the clouds, the fluctuations of the saucer became clearer. Afterwards, the second UFO disappeared too. A few months elapsed before the reappearance of objects at close range.
Aspetta, Quando zoomare sta foto, che è esagerato.
It was 40 minutes past midnight when he noticed an object that drew his attention.
Troppo bello, amore. Vieni a vedere, corri. È quello d'ambra.
The disk stood out very clearly in the night sky. At a certain moment, much to his surprise, the object started to repeatedly light up with a particular violet light.
Fa le luci viola.
I don't know if this was due to its own light or to a reflection, since you primarily notice the circular shape of the object and this light rotating around the bottom and the top.
An unusual event for UFO footage. About 30 minutes after Antonio zoomed out, and you could see the nearby buildings, an important reference which also shows the setting where the event took place. The UFO had gone very far, yet it remained visible but blurry. The sighting lasted more than 40 minutes, a long and unusual duration for a UFO shooting. 9 days after, exactly at the same time of the previous video, at 0:40 AM, another flying object appeared. The shape was different from all the others he had seen till that moment. The color was bronze amber, and it was more visible than the previous night's UFO.
You can see an amber-coloured object hovering with a very light background due to foggy weather that night.
The bottom of the hull reflected the light of the football field below, and the reflection changed according to the movements of the object. Also, when filming at night, Antonio's film stands out for the clear and detailed pictures. It took only a few days before another metallic disc would go so close to URZI's camera. It happened exactly on the 3rd of December 2004. Depending on its position, it reflected the city lights underneath. Its black color was also original. The aircraft carried on its maneuvers in front of the camera for about 5 minutes. This footage closed a year of sightings of the greatest importance. At the time, Antonio used to film when he was not at work.
So it could have been at night, very late in the evening, in the morning before going to work, or in lunch breaks.
The recurrent coincidence of Antonio's spare time with the visitor's appearance is another important element. It suggests that there is an interaction between the phenomenon and the person filming it, an indication of an intelligent and intentional project.
After years of filming, I deduced that these objects clearly intend to make sure that their shapes and features are well visible and detailed. I can figure it out by looking at their motion in the air. We are facing an intelligent phenomenon that wants to interact with us.
Meanwhile, Antonio met the independent researcher Giuseppe Garofalo and became friends with him. He has been the first person to study Antonio's experience, the first to seriously believe and support him. He asked to analyze the films, even though he was convinced of the authenticity of the videos and of Antonio's experience.
I came to the conclusion that they are 100% original and authentic. First of all, the videos have no hint of computer-aided graphic tampering. Moreover, I know very well the background where Antonio films. I know his habits, the instruments and means he uses.
Studying such a unique case, borderline with science fiction, cannot entail just footage and instrumental analysis. It is very important to know also the character's life background, the environment where he was brought up, and the testimony of family and friends. Today, Antonio lives in the suburbs of Milan, but he was born and grew up in Livorno. It is in this Tuscan city that his family still lives, his father, his mother, and his brother. Since Antonio was a child, He used to call his parents as soon as he sighted strange objects in the sky.
I remember his experience started very early. I think he was just 5 or 6 years old when he told me he saw these luminous objects. But sometimes you don't pay attention to a child speaking and may just say, all right, okay, okay. However, this event kept occurring again and again over time.
He spends a lot of time on the balcony with his eyes fixed on the sky, and he used to cry, "I've seen a UFO." But we usually didn't pay very much attention. We thought it was the fantasy of a young boy, that's all.
The phenomena carried on, and since Antonio kept insisting, the family members also started to become aware of the fact that he really saw strange things.
He was on the terrace in the dark and I heard him calling, "Mum, hurry up, come and see." This boy was crying. He was shaken and sweating. "Look, look, look." So we have seen those sort of flotillas that now we see on the television.
"Dad, come out and be quiet," he told me. And I kept silent, even though usually I talk a lot. So he continued, "Look up at the sky." So I did it, and he said, "Be quiet, look over there. You can see those 3 points moving?" I looked at him, then looked up once again, but they had disappeared. Once at home, I thought, man, he must be an extraterrestrial. I know he is my son, but I do not understand what is this strange thing he radiates.
This is the house where I was born. This is the balcony where the first sightings occurred when I was 7, 8 years old. I remember that it was right between those two cranes on the background, where we see a small strip of sea. From that point over there, I started to see the first objects coming up, stopping, going from right to left, spheres of several kinds. They came from the sea and stopped right over here.
Antonio's sightings used to happen even when he went out with the whole family.
We went to the seaside in Tirrenia. While we were enjoying ourselves, playing cards or having an ice cream, he looked at the sky all the time. One day he came running towards me saying, "Mum, hurry up, come and see what's here." We were in the parking area with a lot of people and they all saw it and, we were quite shocked.
I saw a disc above me, very bright, changing colours and spinning around, making very strange revolutions, passing jerkily from left to right. It drew my attention, so I started to cry, getting my parents and the other people's attention. I was about 8 years old.
The family's testimony could carry on. However, they confirm that Antonio has always been very sensible since he was young, making him somewhat different from those of the same age. With his aptitude to spot mysterious flying objects strangely connected to him.
Antonio has always been a peculiar boy. He's always mentioned that he sees things. He's always looked awkward to my eyes. I don't know the reason. I don't know what drives him. He says he feels something inside, and when he feels some presence, he just takes the camera and shoots all the time. People may think he is mad, but these are the facts.
The events that Antonio and his family have described are not new for ufology and contact cases. That peculiar sensitiveness, the recurring sightings since an early age, are common elements for other famous contactees.
Emerge il fatto che queste persone hanno avuto o avrebbero avuto.
The fact comes out that these people have had or might have had similar experiences earlier in their life.
Quindi magari o da bambini o anche, in epoca comunque precedente,
So it could have happened either when they were children or at an earlier age in which they were not fully aware of what was happening. Possibly only years after the event they could understand it.
Tutto questo dà da pensare, perché potrebbe addirittura far ritenere.
All this makes you wonder, since it suggests that this person could have been chosen somehow to live this kind of experience.
È sicuramente indicativo il fatto che.
Anyhow, it is surely important to consider that even Spielberg dealt with these experiences in the TV series Taken.
The episodes carried on until the age of about 13. At that time, Antonio started to cultivate other interests, and so the phenomena became less frequent. This phase lasted until he was about 22 to 23 years old, when Antonio met a group of ufologists and extraterrestrial enthusiasts in Livorno. In that moment, his passion of youth for the mysterious visitors was restored. He started experiencing again the events that characterized his youth. Antonio felt to go to Valle Benedetta, an area just outside Livorno. Sometimes he went there on his own, other times he involved other people, starting with his brother, Gabriele, even if not everyone shared Antonio's passion for the phenomenon.
When they went to Valle Benedetta, Gabriele used to go too, but he did not take it that seriously. Whereas Antonio did the opposite. He was utterly keen. This is why I've said he was so different from the others, from his schoolmates.
The evening went more or less like this. We got there by car, took position, and maybe after about 5 minutes, 1 or 2 lights would manifest above us. They would maybe come up from the hill and start hovering above us, increasing their luminescence. Then, they would slowly change position with irregular movements, impossible for a conventional plane.
Unfortunately, nobody thought to bring a video camera or photographic equipment.
We haven't thought of bringing camcorders or cameras, as it was something really new for us. I mean that we didn't take the time to consider capturing frames in order to show our experience to the others. There was not even the intention to show any material to anyone, because we felt it as a personal experience.
During skywatching, many people had the chance to experience at first hand the appearance of those unknown aircrafts that Antonio mentioned, even if not everything was so straightforward.
During the period in which there have been many such sightings, I try to involve as many people as possible, like my family and close friends. Unfortunately, though, I have to confess there has been a lot of mockery.
Francisco Vanzi Consiglieri is among those friends that at the time used to see the spectacular fluctuations of unidentified visitors with Antonio.
When Antonio told me about these experiences, I immediately believed him, as we're very close friends. We have always had a strong bond since we were children, I reckon since we were about 5-6 years old. I did experience these kind of occurrences with Antonio. I remember in detail at least 15 events. I often went there in wintertime during that period, between 96 and 97. There have been periods in which we went there at least twice a week. Although Antonio used to go even more frequently on his own, I didn't go with him all the time.
The opinions of experts, together with those of URZI's family members and friends, describe a picture of an incredible experience within a real context. History, places, and testimonies synchronize to fit these extraordinary episodes into our reality, culminating into Antonio's shocking films. At the end of the 90s, the experiences at Valle Benedetta ceased.
This experience stopped around 98 to 99 because I moved to Milan for work.
In 2000, URZI met Simona Sibilla. After a little while, they started going out, and Antonio found out that she shared the same passion for unidentified flying objects. Meeting Simona marked the beginning of a new phase of his contactee experience. he moved permanently to his current little loft, and through the horizontally pivoted windows, his fantastic visitations started again.
Nell'anno 2000 incontro Simona e questa esperienza riparte.
In 2000, I met Simona, and my experience started again. It kept going on until 2003, when I bought a camcorder in order to start filming what I saw.
After the first videos in 2003 and the incredible series in 2004, in 2005, Antonio filmed one metallic disc. It appeared again at night time. The sighting was dated April the 30th. In the dark sky background, the UFO hull stood out. The movements, the light reflections, and the shape were similar to the disc that appeared on the 3rd of December 2004. Actually, it even seems to be the same object, although the second one was less visible due to a darker sky. The aircraft carried on its maneuvers in front of the camera for about 10 minutes. Anyhow, the two discs filmed in 2005 are less sharp than the nocturnal sighting on the 27th of November 2004.
I had the chance to film two supposedly metallic discs in a dark sky. The background was different from the footage of November. In fact, the sky looked reddish, almost amber-coloured, like the disc itself that was illuminated by the city lights.
Even though the first series of film in the period 2003 to 2005 was extraordinarily sharp, Antonio had no intention to show them around. Nevertheless, at the end, he became aware of their exceptional value and of the importance of a real contact attempt by an extraterrestrial intelligence. So he decided that it was worth spreading his case out. He got in touch with some national and international researchers, but due to a series of misunderstandings, they did not achieve a detailed investigation.
Inizialmente il desiderio di divulgare questo materiale era talmente forte.
At the beginning, the desire to spread out this material was so strong that the approach with regard to some researchers was detrimental due to my wrong attitude, as I had no experience and I have often been aggressive.
The only person supporting him in that period was Giuseppe Garofalo. Giuseppe, Beppe to his friends, was also convinced that the URZI case should be investigated by other researchers too, and should be made public. In November 2005 then, he met with the researcher Pier Giorgio Carria. URZI was not present.
My reaction to Garofalo's account was utterly incredulous, at the edge of skepticism. I could not understand why a case with such important material could still be unexplored. At the end, though, Garofalo convinced me. I presented the case to Giorgio Bongiovanni, with whom I have been working for many years, and we decided to involve Jaime Maussan in the investigation. As soon as Carria showed me URZI's material, I acknowledged its extraordinary importance. I was surprised too for the fact that it was still unknown. I reckon the footage is real. For that reason, we have involved Maussan for the research.
After scanning frames and the film sequences, Maussan understood immediately that it was a case of terrific interest. So he decided to come to Italy. The study of the URZI case and the divulgence of his extraordinary experience changed for the better. The first meeting took place in March 2006. The reporter was impressed by the frank personality and the open-mindedness of Antonio. Another element that struck the attention of Maussan was the fact that Antonio did not ask for any reward at all for his footage.
Cuando lo investigamos personalmente, nos damos cuenta que el testigo es real.
When we investigated him personally, we realized that the witness was real, genuine. He's not lying. He does not want money and isn't after fame. He puts his name behind each video, exposing himself to risk. These are all the elements I look for when analyzing a case like this. If I get an extraordinary but anonymous video, it's worthless. When the author has his name and surname, as in URZI's case, I think it gains an extraordinary value.
Antonio showed Maussan other material shot by him. This increased more and more his astonishment for the incredible quality of images.
In his videos, UFOs are the biggest, the closest, the sharpest I've ever seen. Moreover, the object lets him shoot them, so that their features and details can be perfectly observed. For this reason, I think they're really impressive.
After the first positive analytical results, Mao-san started to spread out the material of URZI's experience. Through his program, Los Grandes Misterios del Tercer Milenio and others, on his magazine and in the numerous conferences held in Mexico and in the USA, Antonio's footage amazed millions of people. The news spread out, so other international television stations showed their interest for the Italian case. A Japanese TV station sent a troop to Italy in February 2006. While the investigators continued studying and spreading out the results gathered, URZI's experiences went on. The videos continued with an increasingly significant impact. On the 1st of July 2006, at about 6 AM, an Adamski-like UFO appeared. This was the second one he had filmed after the sighting on the 30th of June 2004. This time, the portholes were more evident. You could also see a few small and dark objects around the main craft. Not all of them were spherical, just like in the footage of George Adamski of the 50s and 60s. They were both spherical and lenticular probes. After the first trip in 2006, Mao-san went back to Italy several times to carry out further research on URZI.
I came to Italy, to Milan and Livorno, to meet Antonio's family, and I discovered that he used to see these objects since he was a child. The adults did not pay very much attention to him when he was young. However, as he grew up, little by little, the people close to him understood that something unexplainable was really happening. Since then, they have become testimonies themselves.
Thus, Mao-san also met Antonio's family members, his childhood friends, as well as witnesses that have seen UFOs with him.
After my 35 years' experience as an investigator, I reckon that his witness tells the truth. After having interviewed hundreds of people, one can recognize a person telling the truth from somebody lying. Now these people, all those I interviewed, they're spontaneous, transparent and faultless answers. They did not realize that I used to do many simple cross questions. I can conclude that we're in front of a real case and real testimonies.
In 2007, Antonio amazed everybody once again. On the 29th of April at 6:50 p.m, he noticed a dark object outside the window of his loft.
Guardalo. Bello, Anto. Zitta, piano. Punti di riferimento, la punti di riferimento. Che bello. Aspetta. Ecco, aspetta, guarda. No. Guarda da vicino, corri. No. Ma quanto è grande? Corri, vai giù a sentire, vai giù dalla nonna, corri. Corri! Se ne va! Se ne va, se ne va, se ne va!
At the end, the disc seems to suddenly disappear. Actually, Antonio switched his camera off and then on again.
Considering the time, I wanted to have something to eat, so I went to the bathroom to wash my hands. And to my greatest surprise, while looking up through the windows, I saw in the distance that fantastic object. I immediately grabbed the camera that was near my computer and ran back here. The object was still, So what I did was to go straight to the window and open it. I switched on the camera and started shooting. I zoomed in, and the object started to come slowly above me, and I followed its movements. I kept trying to film with the maximum zoom, then I enlarged the range. After that I stopped recording and switched off the camera in order to grab a stool and carry on filming the object while moving southward. Unfortunately, the object disappeared while I was stepping on the stool.
During the sighting, you could clearly listen to Simona's voice.
In quel caso Antonio mi chiese proprio di andare a chiamare la nonna.
On that occasion, Antonio asked me to call my grandmother, because when he films whatever kind of object, he would not like one, but 10,000 witnesses.
Putting together all the elements of this sighting makes it one of the best documents filmed by Antonio URZI. Studying it closely, you can notice the strong resemblance of this object with the ones filmed at night in 2004 and 2005. A guess could even be that it is the same aircraft. A further recurrence that makes the URZI case comparable to other important contact experiences of the past.
Me parece que el caso de Antonio URZI es uno de los más extraordinarios.
I think that URZI's case is one of the most extraordinary ones in the history of the unidentified flying objects phenomenon.
Tiene características especiales.
It has special features similar to the cases of George Adamski and Billy Meyer.
Tenemos diversos tipos de videos que se han tomado. Algunos casuales, accidentales.
We have different kinds of videos. Some of them are casual, accidental, others are made by dedicated people that managed to film possibly as many videos as Antonio URZI. But nobody shows the peculiarity that these objects really pose for them. They seem to remain there still, remaining well visible, as if they understood that somebody is shooting them. This is an evidence that if shown to people, it could produce some change, a reaction. This is the reason why I consider it a case that must be observed with great interest by the world investigators community.
And the reaction of investigators, as well as of the Italian and international audience, is extremely positive when looking at URZI's footage.
In Italy and abroad, the URZI's case is currently regarded as one of the 4 most important cases in the world. To my opinion, it is the most important. At a conference held in 2007 in Washington, USA, after showing his footage, there was a standing ovation. Rarely, audience and investigators have been able to see such spectacular ufological material.
After the initial analysis carried out by Garofalo, URZI's footage has been analyzed also by the Italian National Ufological Center.
Io ho avuto modo di analizzare I filmati di Antonio URZI, non ho riscontrato segni di manipolazione.
I have had the chance to analyze Antonio URZI's footage and I have found no evidence of manipulation. Neither as digital manipulation, such as CGI, nor as model manipulation.
La cosa interessante è che questi oggetti sono contestuali all'ambiente circostante, per cui I riflessi.
The interesting side is that these objects are contextual to the surrounds, so reflections are well placed and fit the background.
The footage on the 29th of April 2007 has also shocked the American expert Jim Delatosso, one of the mythical figures of ufological research, among the top professional analysts of UFO photos and films. He has a long-established career, having even collaborated with NASA, in particular with the Jet Propulsion Laboratory.
That video is one of the ones that's the most interesting of the latest group that I've been looking at, because there's more than one thing going on than just the picture that's through the lens. There's the conversation that the photographer is having in the room. He's very excited about what's happening, and when you feel that truth coming through in the video, you have a sense that's harder to fake. Images, pictures, those can be faked and we can find that, but faking that passion, that acting. I analyzed the videos, looked at the fingerprints, electronic fingerprints that are necessary to see if it had been superimposed. No evidence of that. The camera movement was interesting in that it had human dynamics to it, not faked in a computer. And the contour, the shape of the craft, the analysis of the edges and the light reveal that it's a large object, not a small object. So I like that case. And maybe find out who they are that are coming here and what they want. I'd like to meet the guy, go there, stand by him when he takes it.
The Antonio URZI footage successfully passed the laboratory's examinations. Nobody can assert with certainty that these aircrafts are extraterrestrial, but the hypothesis is to be taken into serious consideration, and valuating the facts, it is the most likely one. In such a multi-case record, spheres could not be missed. They started to manifest from the very beginning and are a very constant presence in front of Antonio's camcorder. They are made of light, black, white, single, or in small groups. And, as we have seen for the metallic discs, the typology is identical to objects filmed all over the world. This rich gallery was still missing the astonishing flotillas, but 2007 turned out to be full of surprises. On the 23rd of September, flotillas made their first appearance.
Simo, c'è il cielo tempestato di sfere. Dappertutto ci sono, guarda quante.
The white spheres were at a higher altitude than those in Mexican footage. However, also in this case, nobody in Italy had shot something like that before.
Mamma quante, Simo!
On the 30th of September, another flotilla appeared, and Antonio's emotion was overwhelming.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 3... C'è una flottilla intera, Simo! Guarda, se ti abbassi è pieno.
Both on the 23rd and 30th of September, Simona was present.
On that occasion, looking at the flotilla, I was happy to be able to film. In fact, I had a camcorder too. So there were the two of us capturing these objects, and there were so many. It was a great thing. You could feel strong emotions.
Antonio URZI's ability to spot and film unidentified flying objects of any kind remains unrivaled. The only one that could be compared to him is the Mexican Arturo Robles Hill. In his footage, you can see not only spheres, but also an ebony, a supposedly biological entity expelling the spheres that form flotillas. On the 8th of July 2007, Antonio had already filmed an ebony during a visit to his family in Tuscany.
Come quelle messicane.
No. Sono uguali, Tony.
That time, there were no spheres. He caught them again in 2008.
Guarda che bello, lo vedi? Che lavori che fa! È un ebani, Simo! Fantastico! Spettacolare!
In 2008, flotillas appeared again. It happened on the 28th of September. That day, the extraordinary traffic in the sky was particularly active.
Un ebani!
First, Antonio filmed a white ebony, then a flotillas, and finally, he sighted another ebony of a spectacular fuchsia color. The object remained very high, but you could clearly see spheres coming out from its interior. The exceptional event has never been filmed in the skies of Italy, while in Mexico, This phenomenon has been widely and clearly documented several times. As in Tuscany, also in Milan, other people, either family members or friends, were present during Antonio's sightings.
Antonio called me and I saw two light spheres close to each other, flying side by side. During another night, there was one on the left side near the mountains with an intermittent light. Then I've seen another sphere of light that was right in front of here, whose light went dimmer and dimmer.
I've had an experience with him in Milan. One afternoon we went for a car drive when he told me, "Look up, see what's there." I tried, but at first I could see nothing. Then I tried to look harder and I spotted a golden disc standing still. I was very excited. I could not believe my eyes. Seeing an object like this in the afternoon with a blue sky. In 2003 we started skywatching. We have seen many luminous objects above us, moving acrobatically and jerkily. In 2003, I used to often visit Antonio and Simona's house, and I have seen shiny objects with them.
Thus, beside analyzing Antonio's material, Garofalo has also given a direct testimony of sightings. But there's more to it. They also captured them together. The year 2008 did not just bring flotillas and ebonites in front of URZI's camera.
Fermo, mamma mia.
On the 13th of March, just after 6:30 p.m, Antonio noticed a disc hovering in the sky in front of his window.
Eccolo.
He rushed to get the camera and filmed a new extraordinary exhibition. Just like in previous times, the disc movements were clearly impossible for any conventional terrestrial craft. Sudden stalls, fast changes of direction. The UFO is exactly like the one on the 17th of June 2004, even if darker, probably due to the shooting time difference. In the images, you could start noticing black spots. They were the pixels of the camera that had started to burn off, and that became worse and worse in the following months. At the end, the UFO disappeared to the right with an instantaneous acceleration. On the 26th of August of the same year, Antonio received another emotional visit.
Oh, eccoli, fratellini.
The disc filmed on the 29th of April 2007 came back. It was even closer, and its maneuvers show even more clearly its extraordinary technical ability. The areas with burned pixels had increased considerably, urging Antonio to change his camera shortly after.
The black pixels have started appearing almost faintly since the first months. And lately they have covered the whole screen.
The shooting is not very steady because of the difficult position in which Antonio was filming. When URZI films, he uses the maximum zoom available. On one hand, this makes the object's details more visible, but on the other hand, it does not allow you to appreciate well enough the movements and the context in which the sightings take place.
During those moments, I feel that, witnessing such an event, I try to catch all the details in the best possible way. I don't care about filming a building or an antenna, even if it is of vital importance for the investigation. However, in that moment, the emotion is very high. Such an object, I challenge anyone to not zoom in with the camera.
Only at the end of the video can you notice some buildings of the city. Even if they are very large and close, the objects move in such a silence that Antonio gets astonished all the time.
One thing that impresses me a lot during these sightings of such large objects is the silence in the background. It almost seems a surreal world.
At the end, you see the UFO disappear on the left. Compiling the best frames of the footage, the details of the UFO are visible with great clarity. It has only been a few years since Antonio URZI got a camera, and his filmed UFO collection is already very rich. Yet his experience continues.
I believe that this is just the beginning of a story that will amaze the whole world. I'm here for this reason, trying to know it and register it.
The quantity and quality of the documents produced by Antonio URZI, the testimony of his family, friends and witnesses, the analysis results on the footage and the opinion of researchers show us that, beside any reasonable doubt, means of non-terrestrial origin are manifesting, and they are getting closer and closer.
At the same time, a great number of sightings take place in different parts of the world, like in Mexico, right? And in Italy and in England too. I think that they're trying to communicate. I think that these intelligences are trying to tell us something, and I want to say it once again. We should try to listen to them.
Many fear that space may bring about a threat, a feeling that some sense when they see images like those of Antonio's.
I'm very sure that inside these objects there are some people, entities that want to transmit just peace and love, because these are the same emotions that I feel when I film.
So, what should we think of cases like this one? An ancient Mayan prophecy announced that, starting from the full solar eclipse, which occurred in Mexico on the 11th of July 1991, the masters of the stars would have started to make contact with the terrestrial humanity. It talks about a change that would have culminated in 2012. URZI's films are an extraordinary, fascinating confirmation that something is really happening. To confirm this hypothesis, we must also consider the beautiful Mayan-themed figures which appeared during these years in English fields.
Certainly also the crop circles are part of the signs of change, and I'm also certain that Antonio URZI's experience is part of it. I also reckon that this experience, considering some aspects, is connected to mine. This is mainly due to the reason why these objects, the UFOs, visit our planet in this moment of our history. They are also a sign of change. They announce it, anticipate it. A change foretold by many prophecies like those of the Mayas, but also those of the Christ.
Are we close to a turning point of our age? The signs seem to be here. Will we be wise enough to accept it?